can't say anything back because of our situation and our jobs, then I'm just going to block your ass. That's what it is. It is what it is. But I like Tua for that overtime game in the first ever time I saw him at Alabama. I was like, remember that spiral he threw? It's like, oh, my God, I've never seen a spiral thrown like that.
To the greatest receiver core, second to LSU that we've ever seen in college football. But I would say this, there's a lot going on in the football world right now.
Oh, there's a lot going on with the 49ers. A lot going on with the 49ers.
Always, every offseason. If it isn't Jimmy G, if it isn't Trey Lance, if it isn't Purdy's elbow, if it isn't Sam Darnold, the greatest thrower of the football some beat reporters have ever seen, it's always something. Bosa holding out, and now your receiver that you drafted would be the second first-round pick in 8 years that you actually re-sign. Yeah. Now he wants out.
Well, let's get the Cleveland Browns' perspective. We had Mary Kay Cabot on from the Cleveland Plain Dealer yesterday. She talked about Amari Cooper. She wrote the story, and I'm like, they want to give us Amari Cooper? You know what? I'm not mad at that. I would prefer to keep Brendan Aiyuk.
Why would they want to get rid of Cooper?
Yeah, exactly. That's my question. I always look at it. You see, you're learning, Shasky. Look at it from the other side. Why would Cleveland want to do that? So let's bring in Anthony Lima, co-host of Carmen and Lima on our sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. A really good show. They do a great job out there in Cleveland, Ohio, and they have high expectations. So, Anthony, good morning, man. Welcome to the Morning Roast here on the River Islands guest line. I know, Lovin. Go. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, guys? Great to hear from you. And anytime, man, we haven't had any kind of shared experience since, the LeBron versus Steph Curry days. So this is fun.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Yeah, you guys came back from
that year.
Hey, you guys came back 3-1 in 2016, but we got the 3-1 lead overall. So I'll take that all day long. Plus,
we got
Kevin
our
Durant.
one. Hey, listen, we still will go to our graves talking about how special of a time that was. It was a special time for the NBA altogether. Look at the ratings. The ratings haven't recovered in the NBA Finals since those two teams.
Those games were so fun.
And I do, from afar, actually admire the way the Guardians go about running their baseball team. I do. They're a very smart organization.
You know what? I don't like that because I think that's what my bosses say at the radio station. Like, oh, we get a lot of credit for how we don't pay anybody that actually works for our radio station. So I don't know if I should take that as a compliment.
Anthony, all right. There's a lot of smoke going on here with Brendan Aiyuk. So from the Cleveland's perspective, we asked Mary Kay Cabot about Amari Cooper. Is he happy in Cleveland? She said he is. So, Mike, I guess the first question I have for you, if the Niners do make a deal with Cleveland, first of all, before we get into how you feel about Brendan Aiyuk and what you think of him as a player, why would Cleveland want to trade Amari Cooper in this situation for another wide receiver? It doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, there's a lot that I don't think makes sense between these two teams having this conversation outside of the Browns potentially getting younger and having a really good wide receiver who might even have a higher ceiling than I think what Amari Cooper has had. The question is, how can they get around the $29 million in dead money over multiple seasons going forward on Amari Cooper? That is the hard part of this. Cooper did have one of the worst holdouts in NFL history. And what I mean by that is he basically said the minute the holdout was over, yeah, I never really wanted to hold out. And I never really was going to hold out as we got further into training camp. He just really doesn't do business that way, which of course they use against you. But basically what holding out a mini camp and OTAs, what that got him in the first few days of training camp down in West Virginia, which is where they started it, basically all he got was a guarantee for the season that if he got injured in training camp that he'd get his money. So that's what he fought for. That's what he got, but he did not get, and he seemed a little vexed at this. He did not get any kind of commitment going forward, which of course somebody on the other side of 30, which is what he's going to be, is what they're looking for at wide receiver.
So why wouldn't they just keep Amari Cooper and add to that wide receiver core with Deshaun Watson coming back and all that? Like, that's the part that I can't really compartmentalize. Why not just run it back for one more year with him?
And instead of making the trade at all?
Or just adding Aiyuk without surrendering Amari Cooper.
Well, that's the other part of it. Do they want to take away from a strength? I imagine the 49ers would then be looking at offensive linemen, which the Browns have had pretty good depth over the years. That depth was tested last year because of injuries across the board on that whole line. But the Browns have had a top 5 offensive line for like 6 straight years. And so I could understand why, the 49ers might want to pluck one of those guys, given, how valuable that could be to Shanahan's system. The Browns, it could be Brandon Aiyuk this year, maybe T. Higgins next year. I mean, they are going for big game hunting at wide receiver because, quite frankly, they haven't drafted well at wide receiver. That has been a huge flaw. And, there is some wonder, like, what do they need to get Deshaun Watson to help turn his fortunes around in Cleveland? Because he's, let's be honest, he's been a fraction of the player that he was during those Houston years. So they would love to have a younger wide receiver target who also, as you guys know, Aiyuk will block a little bit, right? And an unbelievable route runner.
No doubt.
He's a great player.
Anthony Lima here on the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands, and Lathrop? Anthony Lima, of course, a 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. So I guess that was the next question. How do you guys view Brandon Aiyuk? Do you view him as a number one wide receiver? A lot of Niner fans are mixed because they think the scheme makes him or the quarterback makes him. This guy on limited targets has 75 catches on limited targets and over 1,300 yards receiving. He was a baller last year, and he's gotten better and better every single season. So what are Browns fans thinking right now as they call into your show? As you guys discuss this scenario here, how do you view Brandon Aiyuk? And are you guys willing to trade for Aiyuk and give him a big, fat contract extension?
Yeah, well, the extension part of it is, I think, what makes people nervous, because if the rumors are true, if the reports that, he balked at $25 million, wants to be up there, does he want to be paid top 5 wide receiver money? That gets you north of 30. The Browns already the most expensive roster in the NFL this year, but they feel like they have a cap wizard in Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta, who came from the baseball world. They feel they have a leg up on a lot of the teams in the NFL, and it's a competitive advantage to them, plus an owner who will spend cash. And that's what he'd have to do here too. The raise they just gave to Amari Cooper, there's some money there that he'll never get back just to get him in a training camp. So it'd be a little surprising if they do all of that just to trade him a few weeks later. I think fans are warming up to the idea, though. The production was undeniable last year. Fans have seen him in big playoff games and the Super Bowl. And obviously they like that pedigree. They do love Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper totally balled out once Joe Flacco took over. He had a 250-yard receiving game last year, but they have not found the same chemistry with Deshaun Watson. They're hoping that would be the case, this year in this final year of his contract.
Would he want a new contract if he were moved?
He does. He absolutely wants a new contract. Look, Calvin Ridley was able to get a big deal and has had less production than Amari Cooper the last few deals. Now, he got 4 years. You really only have to pay attention to the 2 years guaranteed, something was it like $90 million, 48 guaranteed. I think that's the type of deal that Amari Cooper and his agent are going to demand, because they just saw it handed out. You know how this works. You know how these agents like to piggyback off the other deals.
Anthony Lima here on the River Islands guest line on the Morning Roast.
Sounds like you're riding the bus.
Yeah, what's going on out there in Cleveland?
You on the streetcar?
I'll tell you what it is. It's laser hair therapy. I don't know if any of your listeners are follically challenged, but it works. I just finished 15, 20 minutes. You're good to go.
Really?
Wow.
Well, explain this to me.
Yeah, Shasky's interested.
We got it. There's all sorts of different methods depending on your situation. And I'm telling you, it absolutely works. I'm on PB here up in Cleveland. You got to pay attention to what is going on with the hairline and the thickness. So I said, I'll do my interview with my San Francisco guys. Come on, you're in California. You guys are vain. You care what you look like.
Hey, listen, man. Anthony, you flex on me with TV, so I got to flex. I know exactly what you mean, because I'm on television too, my man. And the fans, I don't know what it is about me. Shasky knows this. They pay attention to the socks, the suits, their hairline, their haircut. I don't see any other hosts they're commenting on, but for some reason, I got to get a haircut every 3 days.
Well, it's because you wore a Mr. Rogers sweater, and ever since then, everybody's been ripping you.
Well, I made the cardigan look good, Anthony. I made it look good. Not everybody could pull it off, buddy.
That is a very, very confident individual. Cardigan is not for everyone. Certainly not for everyone.
Or a man who gave up.
I appreciate that.
Well, I haven't worn it. I haven't worn a cardigan after year one, so that's been retired.
Here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know. How are you viewing this whole 49ers situation with Brandon Aiyuk? Clearly they have a lot of really good players making a lot of money, right? And it's about how you balance the books and whatnot. Does the average Cleveland fan think that the Niners are just botching this? Are they, is this just a disgruntled player that they're unwilling to give that extra million to? Like, from the outside looking in, how do you view the Niners and Aiyuk and what has transpired this offseason in particular?
Well, they feel like once he gets his contract, he'll be fine. Like they understand that, most wide receivers in this league, especially young and at that caliber and on their rookie deals, like they want to get paid, because you see what happens the minute you get injured in this league. Take Nick Chubb, for instance, who looks like he's on a Hall of Fame pace to start his career. He's beloved in Cleveland. And you would think that the Browns would do right by Nick Chubb. The minute he got injured last year in the second game of the season, what is he doing this year? He has to play just to make up the money that he was going to lose in his contract. And so we know it's cutthroat business. Like, you got to make your money. And they understand Amari Cooper is on the other side of 30, and Aiyuk is, 4 years younger, 5 years younger. So that is critical. I don't think anybody thinks he's, somebody who's going to cause problems every single day. I don't know. Did you guys see much of that at all outside of the contract stuff?
No, not at all. Aiyuk's been a total professional. I mean, I just think the whole situation. Now I'm intrigued, though. With all this talk about Shanahan and Purdy, I'm actually intrigued to see what this offense looks like without Brandon Aiyuk. And trust me, I want to keep Brandon Aiyuk here. I want him to be a long-term 49er forever. But you know what? We'll see how this plays out, Anthony. Thanks for the time today, though. Thanks for the short notice pickup. And take care of that hair, all right?
I can already feel it growing. It's already thicker up top. I don't need to wear a hat today. I'm good.
Anthony, take care, brother.
Whoa.